Hey, how's it going? It's been a while since I've uploaded an actual video. Sorry. Anyways, if you haven't already noticed, I really like Shaco. He's by far my most favorite champion of all time to play. In fact, I've been playing him since I originally started playing League. But he's definitely not perfect. Actually, quite the opposite. Recently, on patch 13.15, about 2 weeks since I started making this video, Shaco has received his 55th bug fix. To be fair, he was released almost 14 years ago. Now compared to another bug-riddled champion like Zeri, who was released only about a year and a half ago, I'd say 55 bug fixes really isn't that bad. But still, Shaco has had over 5,000 days worth of finding new bugs. And to make a long story short, this guy is basically a bug fest. Let's go over some of the more interesting bugs that are still present in the game today. First of all, let's get this set straight. The clone is very strange. The game doesn't really know whether or not the clone is a champion or whether the clone is a minion. Take this for example. If your clone kills a Rift, Baron, or a Dragon with an auto attack, instead of displaying your name for the objective announcement, it'll instead say game announcement on kill objective your team minion. Now this is of course a really minor bug, but I've been able to find screenshots that date back to over 10 years ago on Reddit that include this bug. This announcement must mean that Shaco's clone is a minion. Right? Well, no, not really. There's actually a single item that intensely complicates the matter of Shaco's clone being a minion or a champion. That item's Hullbreaker. Buying Hullbreaker on Shaco gives the clone some very funny properties. When you have Hullbreaker and you use your ultimate, you'll notice that both you and the clone will have the Hullbreaker buffs. Kind of. See, if you ult while having Hullbreaker passive enabled, your clone will maintain the stats but won't actually have the Hullbreaker buff active. Meaning, if you run your clone away from you, you'll actually get 2 Hullbreaker buffs on your clone, making him tanky as hell. I don't even know why this still happens, but it seems like it's going to stay that way for a while. While we're still on the topic of the clone, I want to talk about something that's infuriated me for as long as I've been playing Shaco, and that's just how unresponsive the clone is at times. If you're like me, you really haven't gotten to the habit of using alt and right click to control your clone and instead just mash your R key. There's a reason why this is bad, and it's because using R to control the clone is very jank, to say the least. Sometimes when you use R to control the clone, it flat out refuses to auto attack the Nexus or inhibitor. Now I understand that they claim they fixed this in the patch notes, but it still happens in some of my own games, and this is 3 patches after the bug was quote unquote fixed. Hey, okay, so present me. While I was recording this clip to put in the video, I actually found something very interesting, and that is just Inhibitor's attack range seems to be kind of bugged. I don't know if this is on purpose or not, but at least the Shaco, the attack range is super far. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen it this far, and like, it's the same thing with the clone. If I use Alt and R, or Alt and right click. This is not what the attack range is supposed to be, right? Okay, another bug I found out is, this isn't really a bug, but it kind of is a bug, but it's very minor, is that your clone has super, like, quick auto cancels. I'm gonna press Alt right click and spam R and you'll see what I mean. I mean, auto cancels are supposed to be in the game, but this is just too easy. Normally you're supposed to go up and spam right click and play your stop move like this. And you'll go ahead and get like this auto cancel. But for the clone, all you have to do is just press R and just keep pressing R. Actually, I kind of want to see if this works on monster camps as well. Let's go Drake and see if this works. No, okay, so it doesn't work on Drakes, and you can't auto cancel the clone either. Like, you cannot stop the clone from moving. You have to like get him to auto something else, you know what I mean? But when it comes to inhibitors and nexuses, he can auto cancel super easily. In the situation that you are dead and the clone is still alive, you can't actually control your clone. In most cases, the clone will just drop aggro on whatever target you were trying to kill and run back to your dead body and just sit there. If you could control your clone, it would make playing AP Shaco much easier on the user since you could essentially use the clone as a ticking time bomb. But considering that this bug has been in the game since the release of Shaco, it's not likely it's going to be fixed anytime soon. This next part isn't a particularly major game-breaking bug, but I still want to include it since you could technically classify it as a visual bug. Something many Shaco players know by now is that Shaco's queue is deceptively long. Again, if you play Shaco a moderate amount, I'm sure you've already figured out some of these ridiculous wall hops you can pull off of this queue. I mean, some of these straight up don't even look fair. On the flip side, sometimes these basic short wall hops don't even work properly. Now, if you don't count this previous queue visual bug, every other bug I've mentioned only negatively impacts Shaco in some way. Let's look at one that positively impacts Shaco. By far the most useful tech for Shaco is his infamous Hail of Blades bug, and it's really easy to pull off too. If you, the main Shaco, procs Hail of Blades on an enemy champion, and then use your ultimate, the clone will actually keep the Hail of Blade attack speed for as long as it's alive. It's insane how many kills I've secured that I probably shouldn't have thanks to this bug. But with this positive comes another negative, since a lot of runes don't even proc on the clone. Take for example Conquer or Press the Attack. While you can activate them yourself, the clone has no ability to use them whatsoever. If you take a look at the Hail of Blades and the PTA bug, you can make the connection that the clone just copies whatever stats Shaco has and keep them. This little stats copy quirk also applies to stacks, like Mehaz or Ravenous Hydra. Whether Shaco gets a kill and the stacks increase, or whether Shaco dies and the stats decrease, the clone will still keep the same stacks as when you first use your ultimate. Is this useful? No, not really, but still, it's cool. This next bug was fixed, but it's just goofy, and I wanted to include it because this has been a thing for a long time that I truly do miss. If you have a keen eye, you may notice that when Shaco uses his Q, he has a different walk animation than his default walk animation. Before patch 13.15, if you use Deceive and then your ultimate, your clone would keep the Q walk animation instead of using the default one. I'm kind of sad that this is gone, but also, it did make it a lot easier to distinguish which one was the clone and which one was the real Shaco. If you haven't now already noticed, the majority of Shaco's bugs revolve around his R and his Q. But his W, Jack in the Box, isn't free from bugs either. The most prominent one is just how easy it is to get out of his W. Unlike other traps like Caitlyn's W or Teemo's ultimate, you can actually flash out of the W before it even activates and fears. The most common instance of this happening is if you stopwatch and the enemy Shaco puts a box down on the ground, you can instantly flash out of it and completely dodge the CC. But by far, the worst bugs have to do with this passive, Backstab. And there are two major backstab bugs that can completely ruin a game. The first one is being able to hear the backstab effect from across the map. I'm not really sure if this has been fixed since I haven't played against this Shaco in a long time, and I also don't really know what causes it. On a few occasions, I've hovered the enemy team's red buff where Shaco might have been, and I was actually able to hear him backstab the red buff, essentially giving away his location. This doesn't always work 100% of the time, and again, I don't know how to trigger it, but for whatever reason, sometimes you can just randomly hear him backstab the camps wherever you are on the map, so long as your camera's hovered over it. The second game losing bug has to do with just backstabs activating in general. The hitbox is incredibly jank, like beyond jank. My personal favorite is when I auto the Rift Herald and get a backstab proc, but I don't hit the eye. While there are many more bugs that are still in game that I could have gone through, I decided to hand select these bugs specifically due to either them being funny, strange, or because it straight up ruins Shaco as a character. Really quick before the video ends, I want to give a special thanks to the clone for helping me out with this video, since he has a lot of experience with Shaco from before when I started playing League, and he also gave me a load of his own personal clips and resources to use. His channel will be in the first link in the description if you want to check him out. I also want to give a shout out to my friend ArguePhysics aka Sean, who helped me out with some of the other clips in this video. Anyways, that's about it for me. Thanks for watching.